Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to start collecting Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and today we're going to take a look at the Daughters of Khaine warband from Warhammer Underworlds, Grisele's Arenai, and the brand new rules that have come out for them, and how we can use this particular box set to start a army or a warband in Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry. Now, we're going to go through this box set of Grisele's Arenai, talk a little bit about all the models in here, and if you want to see the rules for this particular box set, you can find them in issue 486 of White Dwarf. That is the latest edition as this video goes out. But you can also have a look at some of the other models and some of the other things we're going to talk about for free to download from the Warhammer community website in the Warcry download section. But we're going to go through this, we're going to look at some other units to expand upon after this box set, and then show you a little 1000 renown warband at the end of the video, like normal. So to start with, this box set contains 5 models that are Daughters of Khaine rune marked, but they also have the Grisele's Arenai rune mark. Now, they are what's called a Bladeborn warband, which gives them a really cool ability when you start deciding to put them into your other warbands. Now, if you decide to include these models as allies, you include Griselle as an ally for your warband, and then immediately all the other models in her warband, so long as you include her, can be included in your roster. Now, you don't have to count them as allies. You do obviously have to still pay points for them, but it means you can include this entire warband, all the models in it, together as a single ally slot. This does not take up all, it just takes up the single one for Griselle being a part. Now, Griselle herself, she has 5 attacks at strength 4, 2-5 on the damage, so pretty fighty. She's also got 20 wounds there, but, you know, like most elves and most Daughters of Khaine models in this, she is defense 3. Now, we do have 3 special abilities for the Arenai that all of the Arenai models can use. There is no leader rune marked ability, besides some of the Daughters of Khaine ones that Griselle can get. And we've also got a reaction. So we'll start with the reaction for these, where this is called Acrobatic Display. A fighter can make this reaction when they're targeted by an attack action, but before hit rolls are made. You subtract 1 from the damage points allocated to this fighter by each hit from that attack action to a minimum 1. This clearly states hits, so does not apply to critical hits, is worth mentioning, but always minus damage actions are good, especially when you are not the most tough warband in the world. Now, we have a double ability as well, Peerless Combatant, where until the end of the fighter's activation, damage cannot be allocated to this fighter, which is just insanely good. Just a double to go, cool, I can't be allocated damage. It's just nice. And then we have 2 triples. The first of these is combination attack, where if we've already made a melee attack action and damaged an enemy fighter, we can make a secondary attack. And Marshal the Blade Storm allows us to, until the end of the battle round, we add 1 to the toughness characteristic of all friendly fighters with Grisele's Arenai rune mark while within 6 inch of this fighter. So this can go and make us quite a bit more defensive. Now, along with Griselle, we do have 2 models that are going to be defense 4, which are really nice. The 2 here with the shields at the front, which are Thralia the Lash, who has a 2-inch reach weapon with 3 attacks, strength 3, 1-4 on the damage. And we also have Trexia the Aegis, 4 attacks at strength 3, 1-4 on the damage there. Both of them being toughness 4 and 8 wounds. The other 2 are toughness 3, but they do generally pack out a few more attacks, or at least higher strength attacks. Calexis the Silver Blur, the one with the 2 blades you see running at the back there. 5 attacks at strength 3, 1-4 on the damage. And Retaria the Entangler has 3 attacks at a range of 2 as well with that spear, but will be strength 4, 1-4 on the damage. So a decent amount of attacks, not necessarily the strongest ones in there, but a good solid amount of them. Now, we do have access to a few of the Daughters of Khaine abilities as well for the leaders. So first of all, we do have Bathed in Blood, which can be used by any of our fighters, and they can just get the ability to add some attack and strength. Sacrifice to Khaine is for Griselle the Slaughterer herself, where a fighter can only use this ability if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them, and she'll get to make an extra attack, which is cool. Getting some bonus attack actions to fighters around her. And Slaughter is strength for a triple as well. We can add half the value of this ability to the strength, which is really where we need to be using those triples and stuff to boost that strength, boost that damage potential. And so, if we're looking at a warband that I think gets a lot of these, it's not actually the Daughters of Khaine. I think the Grisele's Arenai are a fantastic addition and give some really good hitting power to a warband that maybe lacks it, but definitely has other things it excels in, and that is the Khainite Shadowstalkers. Now, the Khainite Shadowstalkers, their big abilities are all movement based. They're an extremely maneuverable fighting force that has some good ranged abilities as well that aren't always damage dealing. So I think they pair really well with this particular warband. Now, the Khainite Shadowstalkers box contains, first of all, its leader, which is the Shroud Queen. She is pretty decent. Defense 4, which is nice, and 20 wounds. She's got 5 attacks, her 1-inch range, strength 4 to 5 on the damage, or 3 attacks at her 3-inch range, strength 4 there, and 2-4 on the damage. She's joined by Slaughter Shade, which is the model with the whip and the punch dagger. You can see it on the right with the mask. Now this can have either the Umbral Spear instead of that whip if it wants, but this is generally a little bit more hitty fighter, a strength 4 fighter, which is pretty cool. You then got the Dark Flame Warlocks, who bring some short range damage, and then the Shroud Blades. The big ability here is obviously going to be the fact that you have the Shadow Leap, where you can count as having fly when you're making move actions. Really good for getting on and jumping on objectives and treasure early and getting away with them. Obviously you can't fly when you're using them, but you can sort of get onto them nice and quick. You've also got extra shooting and extra power in there with stuff like your Cursed Darts. I think this warband is generally pretty flail. It generally doesn't pack out an awful lot of damage, and the way you can start buffing up and using your abilities with Grisel's Arenai to buff up their strength and attacks, I think goes really nicely when you start using maybe your doubles, which aren't quite as important for Grisel's Arenai. You definitely want to be taking those triples, I think, more than anything on them. So your doubles, you know, definitely for these. And so, I guess, looking at that warband, like, you do have just so many options in how you can build here. Your Dark Flame Warlocks have those 2 different options between the crossbows and the Darkfire Ring, and Shroud Blades have the option between either Cursed Swords and Umbral Spears. And what's really cool with this warband as well is the Shroud Queen in this. If you choose to build that Shroud Queen up, you can actually, if you get a second box, build her as one of the Shroud Blades instead, so you're not actually doubling up on a leader. You might not want multiple. And so here we have a sample warband for you. Now, obviously, order, and we've gone with the Khainite Shadowstalkers as our main warband here. Now, the leader obviously has to be that Shroud Queen that we get in this warband, but we do have a couple of other fighters in a Shroud Blade with Cursed Sword and 2 Shroud Blades with Umbral Spears. Now, this gives us a really good bunch of objective grabbers, along with the Shroud Queen, who is just pretty powerful, and if we can ever get that quad on a high value, can just do insanely good damage with it. She's a truly powerful piece to have on the table. I feel like Griselle being here in our allies, along with her entire warband and entourage of fighters, gives us some actual help for that Shroud Queen to do some good heavy lifting on the table. Generally, I find when I'm playing with the Khainite Shadowstalkers, they do lack that ability to really back up the Shroud Queen with anything other than maybe your Slaughter Shade, and even then, that's not the greatest piece. I feel like the members of this warband, when you can get those doubles and triples, will do just as good a job as that Slaughter Shade will. But the Shroud Queen, having Griselle there means there's multiple threats, means she's not the only target on the table, especially with all those other bits and pieces. Now, you certainly, I think, could save points if you wanted to by not taking Griselle's entire entourage. If you want to get, say, a couple of Darkfire Lame Warlocks in here, you could. If you want to get that Slaughter Shade, you certainly could. I think Griselle is the majority character you want to bring in. Maybe with someone, if I'm looking at the other fighters to bring in, I think for me, it's probably the cheaper Thralia the Lash and Retaria the Entangler with that higher strength that are probably the 2 I look to bring in more. And so Calexis and Traxia the Aegis could certainly be dropped out for, say, a Slaughter Shade or something else of a more punchy character if you want to. But this is a perfect 1000 renown warband. I think this gets Grisel's on the table and gives them a true purpose to play with, alongside a warband that not only thematically does fit alongside them, you know, it is all, I guess, Daughters of Cain models at its heart, even though Khainite Shadowstalkers are an independent warband in Warcry. If you've got some ideas, though, on how to use Grisel's Arenai, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And so that's the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fantastic little community here, we have a Discord server which is linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. If you would like to, you can do so either by YouTube members or Patreon, or by grabbing yourself some merch at Teespring or at our Ko-fi store. All of them are linked down in the video description. As a special thank you to our Patreons and YouTube members, we'd like to give you all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons: Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallers, Redmine, Iron Grinch, Nicholas Colomos, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. And to our YouTube members: Green Rich Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Baroque Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, John Castle, Davis Weird, James Tillman, Gargamel196, and Disco. Lastly, a special thanks, first of all, to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing art for the channel, everyone who helps come and provide the games for everyone to watch on the channel as well, and indeed all our fantastic mods and members of the community who keep our Discord and comment section a fantastic place for all to be. Thank you all once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.